meeting to order, please? 6:02. Call to order. Gaston. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Okay, Diane Gessner? Dean?
Here.
Adam Edmonds?
Yes.
Mayor Grant?
Yes.
Scott DeBuck?
Yes.
And Pete?
Yes. Thank you. Go ahead and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall from the library. It's also available in pamphlet form on the website listed in our agenda. Number 4 is our consent agenda. A is approval of the May 13th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. B, approval of the SDL at the Old West Trail Rodeo Building at 16 Main for Diamond Jack's Corner Bar for an Old West Trail Rodeo fundraiser from 3 p.m. on June 7th, 2027 from 3 p.m. on June 7th, 2025 to 1 a.m. on June 8th, 2025. C, consideration and approval to remove Terry Miller, our city clerk treasurer, from her probationary period and approve this 50-cent per hour wage increase. And D, approve resolution of the 2025-05 for disposal of obsolete city personnel property.
Make a motion to approve
Hold
consent
on
agenda.
just a sec. I would like, I would like to amend the minutes to be corrected. During our discussion last council meeting on, Terry Miller attending training, I specified I was only okay with it as long as she was off of probation, and that did not make the minutes.
You asked me that, but you didn't say it out loud to the
I said it out loud to everybody. Okay. And letter C, I would like to hold off on C and talk about C when we discuss item number 6.
Okay, but her probation is, she's done with probation. She's been here long enough to be removed from probation.
Okay, but that coincides with number 6.
How?
Her training progress. Obviously, if we're gonna talk about if she's coming off of probation, we're also talking about her training progress. Those coincide with each other.
Okay, so what's your new motion?
My motion would be to approve B and D at this time and amend A to include as long as Terry is off of probation, that she can attend the training.
Where?
The training was approved the last meeting, so I think we'll stick it here.
It would be in the minutes. I seen it earlier.
Is that what you remember where? it was?
Yep. It's the LNM Municipal Accounting and Financing Conference.
Very last page. Says here.
So-
Okay, but that is not how we approve the motion. That's just something that you discussed.
It's just a statement that you want.
Yes, exactly, a statement that I wanted in there, that I was okay with her going to training as long as she was off of probation by that time.
So your motion's to approve A as amended.
Yes.
B and D.
Yes. And then discuss C with line item number 6.
Second the motion.
DeBuck?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Page?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes. Okay, so A is included with the notation.
Yeah.
So then we're just to C. Go ahead.
Back to the C. C, so we'll go to reports now.
So we
So
don't go
we'll
back
just
to that?
move it down.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, reports, golf?
We have a meeting next Thursday, the 5th.
Hospital.
I was not able to join the hospital conference, I was currently tied up with work.
Okay. Do you have who you need to contact for that in case you need to, okay. Villa, Paige?
Okay, first I'm gonna tell you about the auxiliary and the board, meet tomorrow, so I have a lot. But I would like everybody to know that the Villa Auxiliary, gave $125 of their own money to have the piano tuned. It hasn't been tuned for a long time. They're also voting, tomorrow to, buy some new chairs where the residents, they're wooden chairs, and where they work on puzzles and arts and crafts and stuff, and they kinda are creaky so the auxiliary is gonna, foot the bill for those, so I just like people to know that the auxiliary really does a nice job, and they're always looking for new members. So, and then we have hired, or not we, but Cascade has hired the new administrator for the villa. Her name is Charlene Zander. She is a licensed administrator, and she's currently running a facility in Scotts Bluff. And she will start June 1st. And that's all I know until after the board meeting tomorrow, but, so that's good.
Perfect, thank you. Swan, Dean?
So, I did talk to Jake about Crawford Cleanup Day. He's gonna extend the hours of the dump for that day. I don't know what the hours are gonna be. He said he would let the clerk's office know. And he's gonna bring at least one more dumpster, to our city dump for the day. It will not be downtown or anything like that. We still have to have control of what goes in these dumpsters. And the other pertinent information is we did approve next year's budget, and so, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for donating all the scrap metal that we're selling, cause it's helping keep our prices low. We adjusted our budget accordingly. However, because the state is doubling the fee per ton that we bury, the rates for in town are gonna go up 50 cents. So the rate's gonna go from $27.50 to $28. If the state hadn't raised our prices, then we would have been set to go another year without raising prices. But we try to operate on a break-even status, and in order to even come close to breaking even with the numbers, we have to raise it 50 cents. So that's all I got for this one.
Nice. As far as NNDC, it was a fairly eventful meeting. We did a small update on where we're at rebuilding the website, just a quick check-in. Other than that, not a lot going on with NNDC right now. New business. We've got number 5, discuss, approve, disapprove the treasurer's report, please.
So all of your packets have the treasurer's report in it, and you're also gonna find that there's a large budget Excel report in here. The treasurer report, as we've been catching up and cleaning up, as we've been talking about each time we've been presenting the treasurer's report, you'll see we've continued that, and I kept the notes
on the treasurer's report, just to kind of make sure that we understand everything that's happening in the treasurer report. A couple of our new members weren't here when we had that meeting to discuss that, so I kept all of those written and, information on the treasurer's report. We're still, running in our deficits, and you'll see that for each of the departments. I think until we update the accounting system with actual budgeting numbers, which as we've talked about for the last couple of times that I've had this discussion, we didn't have good budget numbers in the system. It's just been rolling over for the last couple of years. So we've taken on the exercise of creating a budget that I think will make more sense to everybody. It's laid out where I think that you'll be able to see exactly where each of the departments are sitting. And we took numbers from 2022, 2023, which sounds a little odd. But the reason that we did that is that was the last time frame that we were actually in a balanced budget scenario. We haven't been in a balanced budget scenario for a couple years. And so digging out of that and figuring out where the money, what was budgeted for, what wasn't budgeted for, that kind of thing has been quite an effort. We're getting close. We're feeling a lot more comfortable with what numbers we're looking at. And what we would like to do is, after everybody's reviewed these, is to ask if you're comfortable with what you're seeing here, if we need to have a special meeting of sorts in order to delve deeper into this. It's a lot. It's a lot of, you've got all your expenses on the second sheet, all of our income on the first sheet. And then we've also broken down what monies are left between now and the end of the fiscal year, which would be September 30th, for each of the different departments. You'll see that listed down along the bottom here of this Excel spreadsheet. So that helps kind of get an idea of what cash flow we're expecting, what budgeting that we have left, so that we're not trying to float ourselves. I think that's a weird word, but trying to where we're drawing into the water and sewer funds when we need to not be doing that. Some of the real reason we're needing to update these numbers is so that all of the department members get actual reports that make sense against their expenses versus revenue that has been given into the department. And then secondly, the big thing that we're preparing for is the audit. That's the auditor coming here the end of May, beginning of June. The only thing holding us up is the auditor can't finish until we get the villas audit, and then they can finish the city's overall audit. And ours is basically done. We're just waiting for the villa piece to come in. And that should be, we're anticipating it very soon. They got everything that they needed, last I heard, by May 1st. So then by the time they get their work done, we're thinking it should be any day now, so that we will be hosting the auditor at the offices, and that's when he's gonna start wanting to transfer some funds back into the water, and it's gonna bite into our general funds tremendously. But we've been trying to anticipate getting us all prepared for what that's gonna look like by cleaning up numbers. We stumbled onto some things, not stumbled, but just going through all of our CDs, our liabilities, all of our bond payments and things like that. It appears that, and we never want to throw people under the bus. I've only been here, the 3 months or so, and not here through the whole history. And so decisions were made, and we think some decisions were made because maybe there was some accounting things that kind of weren't accurate, in the sense that our CDs were in the system. When they cashed them, they put them back in the system. In other words, it showed a doubling of those funds. So you could have looked at some of that and walked away going, we got $70,000 extra at the end of the day, and you didn't. It was accounted wrong, we found it, we cleaned a lot of that up, and that's how we've gotten to this point where we're presenting what we think is good till the end of the fiscal year, budget numbers that we can at least apply against our expenses and what we're doing on a day-to-day. And then it also sets us up better for our next budget session, which starts here in June. We're preparing to do it early as possible. We wanna be sure that things get to the auditor in a timely fashion this go around instead of late. And then we wanna be sure that we get through all of our budgeting for all the departments long before the budget goes, and we want a balanced budget, not a wish list budget. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't expect we can make all those decisions here today. I just wanted to kind of bring everybody's attention to the budget and that we're presenting here. I think it's in real readable form as opposed to the form that often comes out of our system can be challenging for even the best people to look at. Where this Excel, I think, really brings it much easier to follow, and you can watch it all the way through and and see what all the figures that we've been really talking about and why it is such an impact on our cash flow. Okay. Any questions there?
I had one under, community building. It shows that current funds expended for the year that we've spent $73,640.23.
Yeah.
Did we include that we had a check from the insurance company to pay that?
We did. We went way over the check from the insurance company.
Well, I know we were gonna be like $20,000 over of what the insurance check was for the actual total bill of the floor.
We had a couple air conditioning bills that were on there, at least two, and I think one heater also, if not the other way, maybe two heaters, one air conditioner. So those were substantial to add to that, because you're thinking it's about 20 off.
Yeah.
I would probably say that it's, because we've had 3 to 4 times that we've had to have fire and ice down there on those machines, and I'm assuming that might be the difference.
I think also the insurance money came in last fiscal year. And you paid it out.
We didn't cash that check till this year.
No, yeah, we waited forever to cash that check.
Okay.
So I thought that came this year.
The AC did freeze up twice.
Yeah, because we had, and then the heater was an issue again too.
And we-
So there was at least
lost
3 to
a lot of
4
ceiling tiles
issues
and
with
stuff like that
the
'cause of the-
heating cool system
Is
that
the
might
AC
help
and everything
figure
like
it out.
that.
Because the year-to-date revenue for community building is 11,717. And your expenses have been 73,000.
Okay, we're gonna have to take a closer look
So
at
you're
that.
sure that insurance check wasn't the forthcoming one?
It might have been, but that, we would have had cheating, so I have to probably research that.
Another check. We thought we were taking it into account and we're looking, it was before my time, and
Sure.
we were, from what we could tell, it was like, well, they've gone way over on the insurance budget, so.
But that would make it, it's not insurance check. is a little-
How does the community building make money?
It doesn't,
Renting?
it doesn't.
Well, oh yeah, obviously, yeah. Sorry, that was, okay, yeah, okay.
It sells cookies.
But it's- So it's just rented for special events.
For the second time right now, is the treasurer's report.
Yeah,
No,
we're renting
Okay, the sevens is-
events.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I can't say we've had that happening there for that.
Just wanna make sure.
And when people wanna rent events, they have the golf course that could rent, community building, and then the park has the building there that doesn't cost for part of that. And,
Oh, there's no charge for that one?
The Cameco building, no.
So I don't know if that impacts everything, I just, since you wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought I'd throw that
thank
out.
Any other questions? Thank you, Terry.
Thanks.
Okay, a motion for treasurer's report.
Make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second,
One second.
Scott. First through Dean, second Scott.
Dean,
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I only need three, right?
No.
Don't you everybody?
Everybody.
Everybody, okay, Diane. Geber?
Gaston.
Gaston?
Gaston.
Gaston, right?
Or not.
Captain. I don't care.
Just call.
Names on my desk, I'm trying. And better when it's two together, as you notice, I have to say April Grant.
Okay, number 5, okay, number 6, update and discuss, on training progress from Sherry Miller and Jane Daly.
I guess I would just like to hear.
They're
from Jane.
gonna give us an update on where they're at, and then we can go ahead and communicate about that when they're done.
Okay, well, when I started, there was a lot to dig through. We didn't get to just do training.
No.
We had to clean up, and that required, and that's not throwing anybody under the bus, it just is what it was. And, so that took basically both of us. We were training and trying to fix and trying to handle the day-to-day business. So in this 3-month time frame that we've been doing training, I would say it was a drink from the biggest fire hose that I had anticipated. I thought things would at least be set in place to some degree, and you pick up and you continue it on. Instead, numbers were not right, a lot of questions about things in the system, not in the system, or filing, things had gotten put in lots of different places, and just by virtue of trying to catch the position up required a huge amount of effort, and a lot of effort outside of your normal 8 to, or 7:30 to 4:30 time frame. I know I've put in quite a few overtime hours, it's just doing the business of keeping things up and trying to get it cleaned up. Jane has been pivotal. I cannot even, and this is why, and I would just, you know, I've worked in the corporate sector and technology, selling $1 million systems for most of my career to public safety. And for anybody to think that somebody could have walked into a job like this without any training is why it ended up where it's at over the past 2 years. I mean, it's just blatantly, it wasn't for lack of effort on the people's before me. They were working very hard, you could tell. But they didn't know. There were things that they didn't know. And so then it snowballed in a lot of areas that I don't even think knew was snowballing on them. It was just happening. And so we've put a stopgap in and started pulling back the reins. I know you guys have heard me say, no money, no you can't have it. Sorry, I'm putting a stop here. Paychecks are important, paying our bills are important. We've gotta, I know we all need things, we all want things, and I stepped into that role of saying, not right now. Not that we can't ever get there. The city has been in a position like this in the past, and that's where Jane brings some extreme expertise of pulling it out. So she's been training me on how we go about doing that. And so I've set forth on trying to set that tone, set some procedures in place, all the while learning, it's one thing to know accounting, it's another thing to know municipal accounting. It's another animal, it's not, and a lot of people think, oh, I've done my personal budget. It's not like doing your personal budget either, because of the way that things have to balance out in the system. Funds that can be used and funds that cannot be used, things like that. There's a lot of nitpicky rules in municipal accounting that Jane has been pivotal in bringing me up to speed on. And then just it's a year encompassing kind of position where things are only due once a year. Some things are only done quarterly. Some things are done only once a month. Some things are done daily. And that doesn't sound that big a deal, but in a position like this, it's a lot. So anybody that's ever held this position, has had a lot on their hands to juggle. It is 2 positions in one, and then you add golf. It is 3 positions in one, and the accounting of all 3 of those, the maintaining of all the records, you know, the records retainment is a big deal. We've started into the process of what we can clean up and stuff like that. I think probably everybody's heard there's a lot of stuff in the basement. But you know, you have to keep all those records. You can't just get rid of them, and in prior years, people thought they could and they shouldn't. So, you know, there's a lot to the training process of a position like this. If after 5 years somebody's fully trained, I think you would just celebrate. But it's always gonna be something different. Every time there's a new project, USDA fund projects, you know, there's just so many rules and regulations to the position. I personally could not have gotten as far as we've gotten in such a short amount of time with I think great successes is what we've accomplished so far. I feel like people are starting to feel more comfortable with the information being provided to them now, that at least they can ask questions and we can give answers and even show history of stuff, I think really successfully now. And that it took not only training, but training and doing. And Jane has been pivotal in this position for me to get as far as we've gotten. 3 months was a lot to do, and if it was all pure training of the job, that would have been really a lot more fun. Instead, it was here's a shovel and let's dig out. And so we've just jumped in and dug out. Luckily, we also had some other help in the office. You know, Jody has been a wealth of information also. It takes a village to bring a position of a 3-man position all the way up, I would say, and as quickly as we have. So I'm not tooting my horn as much as I'm tooting Jane's horn. And between the 2 of us, I think, as a team, we've made a lot of progress. I think we're in a place where when we start into new budgets, it should be a process that should go the way it's supposed to go, is the plan. We want all of it to just go the way it's supposed to go and not have, there just should never have to be all of this extra dig out work. There just shouldn't have, I mean, we've even had to go as far as, and I'm looking at Dennis because we've had to talk about, you know, just this vacation and comp time accruals. That was all messed up. So we had to go audit all of those kinds of things. Does that take long to train? No, but does it take time to clean up? Yes, you know? So it's been that way all along. The goal would be that when I leave in a week, just kidding. I'm sure you guys are listening. The goal is for continuity in the position is my goal, and that's Jane's goal. If I leave on my own without dying in office first, you know, that somebody could come in and be able to, you know, so we're creating systems and things like that, manuals, cheat sheets, all those things that if the people before me had, I don't think we'd have been in the situation that we're in. Because there would have been places for them to go to get the information that Jane had for 11 years before she left from doing the position. Then she leaves, the new people come in, no continuity, no training. They were making it all as they could, but that only, you know, blind leading the blind, you know, just get you to the blind nowhere, you know? And so the goal is that we're gonna have a position that can carry some continuity to it, whether I'm in it or anybody else is in it. And so I don't know if that's what you were looking for. I certainly, if I can put together a list of all the things that we have accomplished in 3 months, if that's something that's needed, certainly I would hope you don't ask me for that only because I already got a lot on my plate, but I will pull it together. And if you have any other questions about how our training is going, there has been probably maybe 3 days out of the whole time that Jane and I were split in our tasks. Otherwise, we've been step, block, and step. And that was only because the fire drills that come our way from council and things that have, I mean, I've already gotten through 2 mayors and 3 city council people in a very short amount of time. But that said, it's not, she's with me every step that we're cleaning everything up. So it's, a lot of the budget, like, she's like, the budget's a problem. For a person to look at this budget and be able to read it in a layman's term, so I bring the layman's term to it, and together we piece it together to make it so everybody can understand it. So we've been really close in getting it done. There's just, it's not like, oh, I've just got an extra person to help me. It's not that at all. I wish it was that, and I would like it to continue like that to some degree. It is a position that, unfortunately, nobody can, I don't think anybody can deny, it is more than one person can typically do. It's been done by one person in the past and stuff like that, but you didn't have golf on top of it. You might have split that with somebody. Once golf hit me, I went, okay. I'm swimming for the surface, so. And it's just requiring a lot of off-time hours in order to be staying up on that. And that doesn't mean, and that's not because I'm uneducated and untrained, it's because of the amount of work. Is there anything you would add?
Well, if you're looking for more specific, sure, we've trained on payroll, touched on some HR stuff that gets pulled into that. Accounts payable for paying bills. Accounts receivable, actually Jody does most of that, but, you've made deposits and entered deposits. There's just so much to everything. Like even at today's payroll, there was stuff that came up that we hadn't talked about before, hadn't happened before. So, and there's a lot of stuff, there's no point in training now on doing 1099s and W-2s, because you don't do that till January. And, so there was some, well, and I have cut back, just thinking, cut back to 4 days a week. I think this last 2-week period, I had 59.25, I think, hours.
Yeah.
And then maybe next month, try 3 days a week, and eventually it'd be nice to get to 2 or even 1, and just, you can save up your questions. I'll come in on a certain day, and I can look at the calendar, know what's coming up that we haven't touched on, and we'll try to train on that. But Mayor Grant used a great phrase a few weeks ago, survival mode, and that's about what we've been in, because you can't just take, like, let's train on payroll today and cover every little thing that can come up. You know, you're slamming to get payroll out, and then you're slamming to get ready for the council meeting, and then you're gonna slam to get all the bills paid, and then there's, you know, reconciling the bank, she knows how to do that. So it's just, believe me, I'd be glad to go back to retirement, so as soon as I feel like I'm not really needed, I'm not looking at this. But if you decided, well, you can afford to keep me for a day a week indefinitely, if there's not training, I mean, yeah, I just don't think you're gonna keep people very long when they're that overloaded. So I have asked her, how many overtime hours are you comfortable? Do you think you're comfortable working long-term? And, if you burn out and quit because your health's going down the tubes, then you're gonna be looking for another new work.
Yeah.
But we would like to be able, and I'm willing to do a lot of stuff from home too for not charging anything. We would like to get a lot more stuff in formal written form, so that if you ever, because it's not all about Simple City and how they're gonna change, it's a whole lot of other stuff, so.
Which we're gonna roll to the new Simple City come November, so we're preparing for that too, for the upgrade on that, because that was paid for a year ago. And it hasn't been in a place that we could do that update because our data wasn't good. So that's why we had to clean all that up, because you can't just migrate a bad accounting data into a new system. You're just creating another problem. So we're preparing for November as our drop dead date to get to a more modern system. It's with the same company, but it's their newer system, which will help. It will help a lot. I feel what we're using now is archaic. It's almost a stone and a hammer. Jane loves it, don't get me
It's all
wrong.
I've used.
Yes,
I know it, but abacus. It's hard to put a time frame on it because so much what they call unplanned work happens, and we might plan on covering something one day, and, you know, between the public walking in and wanting something, and councils and mayors and board people, and stuff you get in the mail and the email that you sure didn't have on your list to do today. So it just gets hard to, and it's hard to draw a line between training and helping, because I can't just show her how to do this and then walk out and go home, you know? So, sometimes it seems like, well, wouldn't it be better that you know how to do warrants? If we could both pound out warrants, we'll get done in half the time, then we can move on to training on something else, but I don't even know what your concept of training really is, you know, so,
Well, in my business, we call SOPs, standard operating, and that's what we really need to concentrate on, I think, to have, so everybody does know what goes on here, there, you know?
Yes, we agree with that.
and I would envision like
A
a
month,
monthly calendar,
yeah.
you gotta do this month, and then you can refer to a manual that tells you how to do each one of those
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
right?
And
Which
that
I
takes
would have
time
loved to
to
do
do
when
all
I was here, but
You didn't
you
have
can't
time.
do that when you're working
That
70 hours
takes
a week.
time.
But it's certainly, I think she will do a great job, and is doing a great job, and will continue to. We work well together, so there's no time wasted in petty office stuff that you sometimes run into. Like she said, we're almost always side by side, haven't killed each other yet, so. Yeah, I think it's going well, but it's hard to put a time frame on it. And I know better than anybody, I don't wanna take wages if it's not necessary, so, I don't know.
I guess my biggest concern is, and obviously the council's shifted quite a bit since when we hired you on and everything. At that time, we still had Brent and, well, Patty, and everything has changed, but I know we originally discussed bringing you on for 2 months.
Nobody ever said anything to me about that, but.
And I'm just trying to figure, cause this is something we didn't necessarily budget for, was to have a full-time trainer here for long term. You know, if you break it down, $20 an hour, you know, we're talking between $3,000 to $4,000 a month in income.
3,200 is maximum.
Okay. The city's paying out in a position that we weren't even budgeted for.
You would have budgeted for Julia and Jeannie.
Yes.
And,
Guess that's what I went off last year.
I mean,
And I know, listening to what you're saying, your concern here is that it's more than one person can handle, okay? I mean, and I even think that she's made that clear, that this is a 3-person job, you know, and we're trying to handle it with one person, okay? So that's something the council's gonna have to decide, is going forward, you know, are we gonna leave this a 1-person job? Or are we gonna look at it to go for a 2-person job? Because we can't keep paying for training long-term. I mean, I just don't see financially how we can do that when the city's already got a massive cash flow problem.
What's the difference between a training at 20 an hour or hiring somebody? I don't understand.
Well,
Financially, that would be different.
I know before, the employees that we had before, obviously, the one was not making $20 an hour. You know,
They both were making more than that.
I thought she she was making $17.25 an hour.
Oh.
Now, Julia was making more.
They both were making.
You know, I guess my concern, and I'm being honest, my concern is, can the city afford to pay, you know, a second employee or a full-time trainer? We have to figure that out.
Oh, I'm not a full-time trainer.
Oh, she's got her full-time already, she's probably just.
Can you afford not to?
Yeah, that's,
That's what we can't afford, is not to do it correctly again, because the amount of money that we have wasted in the last 2 years in the turnover, in the not having people there, having the job open, having everything incorrect, having budgets that we can't refer to, that has cost us 4 times that position. So if it means training, from my perspective, Jane for the next, having her train her for 2 more years, it would be worth every penny. Because what we've been through and what we've unfortunately had to put our employees through, which makes me feel sick knowing what they went through and how horrific it was. That shouldn't be done to anybody. You should be able to be hired to a job and be given the tools that you need to complete the job and be able to do that job with those tools correctly. And that wasn't anything we were able to give any of them. And it was punishment for them, it was punishment for us, and the city has done nothing but suffer.
And I agree, but I can say that for all of our departments. I mean, right now, I think we have several departments that could use another employee, but it wasn't budgeted for, you know, and that's ultimately where, you know, I'm
Well,
looking.
we
is
have
long
to
term.
fix, this is the most important
Yeah, this is
position
the
that
top
the city has. We have to fix this position first. Before we can cover anything else, we have to make sure that she is rock solid in her position. I've sat here and we've gotten, she's the 4th clerk that we've had since I've been on council. And I watched former clerks literally lock themselves in the office. No one was allowed to talk to them at all. And one of them in particular, she had no clue what was going on, and it was very stressful, and that's why she quit. So I just gotta say that right now, Jane did this job by herself for 11 years, and she's the perfect person to train Terry, and I trust Jane to say, you know what, Terry, I don't think you need me anymore. I really do feel that way.
And we've always had, I think we both have had open door policies where just because anybody in this room walks in and we drop what we're doing and we give you the time you need, does not mean we didn't have work to do and maybe have to stay that much later tonight to catch up. We didn't lock our doors. Not that I see anything wrong with that, I get it. But I thought of that.
And don't get me wrong, I don't think your time is being wasted.
And how much time do you think you could afford? Because I'm prepared to negotiate some things, because I know the city's hurting. Like, if it's okay if I do some stuff from home, gosh, I've always donated a lot of time, because I was salaried, so I worked a lot more hours than anybody would expect a salaried person to work. When I wasn't working, when I've been back now, and for the treasurer's report, and now, I don't know.
what are we
Could
paying you
work
now?
2 days.
You've been awfully generous,
20
Jane, and
Okay.
in no way, I know the city's hurting, but in no way do we need to ask you to donate your time for that. I don't know that that's reasonable at all. But I do think you guys are making good progress. That's part of the reason why I wanted you guys to give an update and discussion on it. You've made amazing progress. You've dug us out of some serious holes that I started to wonder if we were ever gonna see the light of day of. So again, I commend you on the job you've done. Thank you for your diligence and doing what you're doing to pull us out of this. I know we've spoke in the last few weeks or in the month that I've been in a different role with you, and we've talked about how you've wanted to cut back so that way you can see and try and see what you've learned. You know, put it to use and see if it's really what you think you already know, or if she needs to be here a little bit more, a little bit longer. So I know you guys have been in touch with that the last few weeks, and I think that's important for not only our council to know, but for our public to know too. I think this is not something that Jane's been here full time this entire time. You guys are doing your due diligence to make sure that you're cautious of our budget. If anybody knows our budget more than you, I mean, you know it well, and you can tell that you both care about what the city has and what we have going forward, so.
And even if I'm helping in training, my flat wage is a lot less than her overtime.
Right.
So if you wanna look at the money, I mean, she's still gonna run into some, but
I guess my biggest question is moving forward, do we need to plan for a second employee? I mean, is this job too big for one person? I guess that's where I'm at.
My thought would be, let's do the training that's necessary, but I'd like to see the SOPs set up first before we make that decision to hire a second person. Because I think that would make a huge difference.
And we're coming up on budget season, I mean, but we're gonna start having to schedule budget meetings and all that here through June and July. And that's something that we should be able to keep in mind and work with into the new budget. Yes, what we're working with this year is really similar to last year, and we had quite other additional bodies in City Hall where we don't have them this year, so we do have a little bit of wiggle room, but it's something to definitely consider when we take it on the budget. Lisa, you had something?
So, I really have a concern when you're thinking of a trainer for a 2-year period, a long-term trainer.
Okay, no one said 2 years.
You did, that you would keep her for 2 years, if that would be.
I said if we
If it was
needed to, it
necessary.
would be valuable.
I think for the value, for the preservation of your current employee, you need a job description that protects her so that she knows what her responsibilities are. Because, to have a job that takes 3 people to fill, that's all kinds of job description, that's too much for one person. And I think we can look at the history that with the turnover and the stress level, that I think we can agree that this is a position that requires more than one person. I think you've got good data to back that up. Instead of proceeding until she's trained, what position is she training for? I think we need to consider with the new year budget, writing this up in 2 positions with different, specific responsibilities, so that, all the burden's not on her shoulders.
Thank you.
And that we've got a trainer that doesn't have a job
There would
description.
actually be a ordinance change if we do that. The law would have to change by ordinance, because
Okay.
right now they're combined.
I think the way that we're structured now is not set up for success, and it really concerns me. So that is what I have to share.
Sure, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on. We still have consent 4C. The consideration and approval to remove Terry Miller from city clerk, to remove Terry Miller, city clerk treasurer from her probationary period and approve the 50-cent per hour wage increase.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Dean,
Yes.
Gascon,
Yes.
DeBock,
Yes.
Page.
Thank you.
You were close.
Trying.
Number 7, consideration and approval using the 2022-23 budget as reference for the remainder of the fiscal year. I wanted to put this on here in addition to what else we've had here. We cannot replace the budget that we already have, but I think in light of what we're learning, that it would be in our best interest to use the 2022-23 budget as reference. It's gonna help us stay on track to where we need to be, make sure we're not going over, giving everybody some real finite, specific numbers to consider, so that way we know closer to where we need to have a successful finish of this year, and then also too, we know more prepared and more what we need to have for expectations coming into the new season, new budget season. So I would like to just put that up for consideration.
When are we planning on starting budget meetings again?
Starting in June, probably middle to the end of June. And then, part of it is we need the auditors to get in here and do his.
Right.
His
And,
stuff.
and like it's stated in the item here, it would be just for reference. It does not replace the budget. We cannot replace the budget. That's something that's already been submitted to the state. What this does is it gives you specific numbers to refer to so that you know where you stand. It's just for reference.
Is that
So-
information gonna be sent out to the
a guideline. Yeah, and it's a part of what we have tonight, all printed, it'd be really easy to do, and that's another reason why it'd be great to have, I mean, it'd be a live, real-time guideline you could have immediately, and it doesn't require them to go back in and rework something, or for us to try and resubmit something to the city, but it gives you something that's a real,
It'd
a real
be
guideline.
nice to have that information, and then we can bounce it off of what we've already spent this year. We can
Right.
get a more
and you have,
realistic
then you
picture
have a real
on how we
snapshot of
go
where you
into
sit.
next year, absolutely.
Right,
Yeah, and that's what we got in here, so it'll help a lot, I think.
so, yeah, it'd be a reference or guide. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Devon,
Yes.
Gaston,
Number 8, discuss approve, disapprove the request by Brian Fromm to partially block the road entering the park beginning at 2 p.m. for the Hewitt Memorial Triathlon on July 4th. You should also have map within your packet to refer to also.
I know me and Brian spoke on this on the phone, and he explained me the whole process of what we're going through. I mean, it's common sense to me, it's safety, it's trying to help make sure that
Let's have him present first so that everybody knows.
So
where we're at.
this year, the triathlon went really well last year, we thought, we had a lot of fun. So this year, we'll make it twice as big. We're instead of having 10 teams, we're gonna have 20, and we're doing 2 relays. We're gonna start with 10 teams, starts at Fort Robinson, we're gonna have a horse race start at the Towers, and they'll come out to where they were at before, and we're gonna have the bike race. And this year, instead of going around by the sale barn, I wanna bring them down the road there, past the arena and cross the bridge, and then hit the bike trail. Go out to Fort Robinson, and then we'll go out past the ponds and come back on the bike trail and end at the Legion. And then it's a kind of a barnyard race is what it's gonna be from the Legion down to finish it. What I'm asking, just for safety, is the main reason for doing this, is to close the road from First Street into the park from 2 p.m. till the end of the race. And I wanna close it up at the rodeo building too, coming back in. I am willing to, if we need to put directions for people to, if they wanna get to the park, we can go have them diverted and go up around through Sale Barn and come in the back way. And I think there'll be enough room, we can petition that off, that shouldn't bother anybody coming in to the park. Where the rodeo grounds come out, the driveway come out, the rodeo grounds, and the entrance to the park, and by the Wachipi grounds, I think there's enough room that I can make it for all the bicycles to come through there and not impede traffic. The only thing we're doing is, last year we had a lot of people come in, they didn't, people were supposed to hold up traffic, did not. So we had cars coming in amongst bicycles, and thank God we didn't have any train wrecks. This year with being twice as big, I would like to see if the city would approve that we block the entrance at First Street and the rodeo building down.
Do you have a guesstimate of when you guys might be done?
I have no idea, we're gonna do it in 20-minute slots. I'm guessing the race is gonna be, the horse race will be 3 miles, the bike race is gonna be about 6, and then, the rest of it will be off the beaten path, so I'm guessing it'd probably take, it's gonna take us about, from the time we get started, about an hour and a half. I'm hoping,
So
Last year
you
was
think
so
it'd
fast.
open up by like 3:30?
yes.
Have you spoke with the rodeo
I have
board
not.
as far as
Nope.
when they need to start opening things up?
Nope, I have not, I haven't come to the city first, so. Yeah, we should be well out of it before traffic gets, there was a lot of traffic last year that was going into the park, and I do not wanna impede that, I'm doing this for safety. And I think we could put signage up there that help people understand how to come in. There shouldn't be a problem.
Would you still have people that could, like if you have these blocked, could you still have people that could man them, so that way if somebody
For
did
sure.
need to get through or
For
something
sure,
along
what
those
I
lines?
asked from the city is if you want to barriers to block off both ends where you wanna block, well, it'll be 3. Cause I'll have to do the big, right by the Wachipi, that's gonna be the hardest part to block off. So
Could you
people
do
come in
there and then over by the Legion
And
at
then
the
by the,
entrance?
by the Legion, by First Street,
Mhm.
and then by the rodeo grounds, come in, or by the rodeo building up on top. So we'll probably put the barriers, be on the south side, that rodeo
Oh,
building.
so you're saying almost in 3 places, cause if you want them to filter
Right.
down in, you could have it blocked off where they just have a
Right.
small area to.
Right, right. It shouldn't impede traffic too much, it'll be kind of a hassle. And if we have signage, I don't think it'll be a problem with people to direct way.
Are we gonna have, those, RV spots open by the 4th of July, do you?
Open park
What?
lots.
Right now, we don't know, cause
So
a lot of
it's
it's,
What the ones in the OCD?
the water line, I mean, that's gonna be a major project, running the water line, and that's all gonna be scheduled with Dennis, so.
So timeline wise, that's probably not realistic.
Probably not, no.
So you wouldn't have to worry about that too much.
Well, I mean, they're open for rent
Yeah.
right now,
Just don't
but,
have water.
right, no water, no gravel. but- So, okay.
At your last meeting, you approved for Brooke to close off that inner loop anyway. People don't really need to be going down through the park unless they're going to the rodeo grounds, then they can just take it out there.
They can come up to the sales barn if they wanna go to the river grounds.
I can talk to Brooke too, I just thought, I'm gonna need some barriers. I don't really have any barriers, but I know the city's got a few that I use. And I want their approval to go ahead and block off First Street, so if it's okay with the city, I'll do it, I'll go ahead and go talk to Brooke and see what he's gonna do. I wanna get the city's
Start
approval.
to know with the chamber.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought,
cause they
I thought you meant,
reserved us a part in the park
Chamber.
for,
Brooke was here
For
last
food.
meeting and requested the inner loop be closed down to traffic going through to stop people from driving in there.
oh, yeah, no, it won't.
Would you
But
guys
I don't-
like for-
So,
did we just approved for her to have an area, we didn't approve to
so,
close it off.
yeah, so I wanna
Or
see
we
those.
approved to close it off.
Yeah, you approved the loop closed off.
Well, then
So that would
just
not
helps
be
it.
accessible.
Yeah, so you guys would almost support each other in that then.
Yeah, I'm good. I'd make a motion to approve unless somebody else has any more questions.
I'll
Is
second.
there a second? Okay, Scott?
Dean?
Until,
2 to 4,
until the end of it.
till the end
As
of
soon
the
as-
triathlon.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It should be done by 3:30.
Yes.
Okay.
Devon?
Yes.
Gaston? Yes. Paige?
Yes.
I need remedial help, let's just admit it.
You'll do better when you feel better. That's all right. Okay, number 9, discuss, approve, disapprove the maturing of the 7-month security for bank CD, number 6263. Did you guys have an update on that?
I think we added to the packet the investments page on the treasurer's report. Looks like that.
There's
Sure.
also second to the last.
Says
page.
investments at the front there.
So I know that the library is coming up pretty soon, if you guys wanna do anything with it, let us know.
What are the interest rates, looking like right now? I see if we don't do anything, it just stays at 4.6.
Yeah, if it just rolls over, probably. It's also.
I don't know what the rates are right now.
June, whatever, and it'll be, I guess it's just a matter of, you want another 7 months
Second
one?
to the last page.
Okay, so the new CD, the original amount was 176, new balance was 89.6.
No.
And we're just looking at rolling it over for another 7 months, is that what I'm?
Well, I was just asking
They
if we
normally
knew
have a
what
couple
the,
options. They normally give us an option of what it is to roll it over or what it is to, we've had 2 options in the past, I think. But maybe
well, if
they
we
give
could
us
get a higher
options.
rate, and
Yeah.
then we close it and
But
put
maybe we
it back
didn't
in
have
at
options
a
this
higher
time.
rate, but.
I guess, I don't, I'm okay with it as long as we find out what the current rate's gonna be, if there's a chance that we can get into a better rate, I think that'd be smart.
4.7.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
best interest
There
if
you
she
go.
can.
That's
Whether
why.
it's
The
been
treasurer.
7 months or a year or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, who would like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion
To direct the treasurer to get the best interest rate.
to get the best interest
Oh,
that she can.
okay. You gotta speak up there.
Your ears are closed too.
I know, I can't hear, I can talk.
Okay, awesome. And then Gaston is seconded for you.
Who first did it?
Scott.
Oh, thank you. It's recorded too, ain't it? Devon?
Yes.
Gaston? Dean?
Yes.
And Paige?
Yes. Unfinished business of the preceding meeting, number 10, confirm and approve said exchange of property by the city of Crawford to Robertson as set forth by resolution 2025-04.
And as the process goes, we posted for the required amount of time that resolution. So tonight, we just need a motion to confirm the sale.
Okay, I'll make a motion to confirm.
That's Bob, okay, second. Second by Dean.
DeBock?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gaston?
Yes.
And Paige?
Yes. Thank you. Number 11, report and update from Golf Board regarding their meeting with the White River Trail Board concerning the proposed golf cart crossing over the trail. It's my understanding they weren't able to make this meeting happen yet, and it should be happening the next week.
Jenny called me about an hour before the meeting and said that the meeting's scheduled for the 2nd of June, but the golf course board has not responded or not entertained the meeting.
So they will.
Okay. Number 12, update from library board regarding part-time library aide position.
As the executor of the board's vision, I just was gonna share their notes.
Sure.
Alright. So, one thing that, we wanted to mention first is just, at some point, we'd like to request the formal approval from the council of the job description we submitted. If not for right now, then for future use. I don't see those needs changing. I think that's a much more up-to-date and current representation of what the library would need eventually. Elsewhere, so during the May 13th city council meeting, the mayor asked that the library department meet with the treasurer to review the library department's budget and get a better sense of what funds were accurately available. The agenda item took no action on it that evening, with the assurance that it would be on tonight's council meeting. The library department, to include the department head, the board president, and our council liaison, met with the treasurer and her trainer on May 15th. During this meeting, the treasurer was unable to provide specific figures on what actual funds were available to the library department for the remainder of the fiscal year, and that was at that time. So at that time, we did not receive the number that we were tasked by the mayor to get. The treasurer did confirm that all of the existing budget numbers issued to our department in the fall are inaccurate and are meaningless as far as execution of the department's budget for the rest of the fiscal year is concerned. The treasurer offered the recommendation that we instead proceed with the prior fiscal year's income data. So that varies from what was shared earlier this evening, but it's not terribly different. So with all that in consideration, the library position we can't rightly ask for at this time. We understand that. We cannot rightly ask for it to be advertised for anyway. In closing, the board has since worked with me and we've reassessed the library department's budget. We've reassessed it with a realistic sense of and estimation of what will actually be spent for the rest of the current fiscal year. So we know what our end numbers for the fiscal year are gonna be pretty close. And a document detailing such can be made available by request. And so besides the eventual approval by the council of the library aide job description, we are open to questions if anybody has them.
Well, I did a little work on a rainy day. And I found the Nebraska Library Grant Portal.
Nebraska Library Commission's page.
Well, no, this is a different one, okay? Yes, that's also something I delved into. But no, this is the library grant portal, okay, and it has 12 pages of grants, and I wrote this down for you, so you can have sight. But, not big amounts, but $1,200 for an internship. $500 for books, you know, it's that kind of stuff. And I only went through the first 2 pages and I just read I didn't go into depth and read the whole thing. However, my thought in my mind was, as you had said the guild was paying your $500 for the summer stuff, the summer.
Our friends group is.
Right, oh, okay. But there are grants for that, so your guild, your friends, could pay for other things, like perhaps an assistant, you know, for a few hours to see if that's something you really need. And this is all stuff that, you don't have to be a grant writer or anything, you can just go in and look at all these grants and see what all are there. But they're for summer programs, they're internships. So then I went a step further, and Crawford High School has Arts Media Entertainment Academy, right? So, perhaps we could find a high school student, because there's always seniors that are overly bright and have taken every class there is, right? And they need something to do. So I was thinking maybe we could utilize those kind of situations for help, okay? Also, I would suggest going to CSC's workforce development, because colleges there's always a teacher that wants an intern, or there's a student that needs, you know, they don't have library science per se there, but could have a creative writing person, you know, major, could have an English major, could have, you know, just somebody that wants to do that kind of thing. So those are just some of my suggestions. I also would look at Ogallala, Lakota College, again, their workforce development, same thing, find a student. So just some suggestions. So here's my little,
Well, that's
sorry, I
really-
still do old school everything.
No, that's really exciting to hear, because we being the library board, myself, and our friends group have formed a funding committee.
Okay.
And we've looked in, so this is a really great other corner to have access to look at that, to augment that, so thank you for those additional
Sure.
insights.
And you're doing the E-rate, right, for your internet?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
good.
yes.
That was something I wanted to
So
make
that's
sure you
something
were doing.
that
Yeah, that's great.
got in place last summer.
That's great, yeah.
So pursuing of grants is something that we've been working on, developing on, had notable success with, increasingly so, starting with E-rate and other rounds. I still have connections with the Chadron State campus and their internship department and everything, so we've begun drafting a lot of those things that you suggested, so.
Well, sorry, I'm not stepping on your toes, this was my
If
brain
anything,
went
it tells
this
us
way.
we're on track,
Yeah,
so
okay.
we're on somewhat the
And if
same
you need any
page.
help with anything, just reach out.
We'll, CC you on when the next funding committee meeting is.
There you go, another committee.
Follow up on what you said, we have been researching those, and the internship grant, is for a $500 to $1,000 grant, and for a high school student or a college student, but they're in limited time chunks. And so we absolutely love the idea, because it's mentoring to our young people and helping them develop job experience. We've contacted and had discussions with the Nebraska Labor Department. The problem we're having is that these resources can only work at the library while the librarian is working at the library. So we're still unable to increase our open hours. And as we go through the grant, you're right, they're about specific projects and new projects, things like that, have not had, I haven't found the grant for daily operational expenses.
Right, yeah.
And so that's.
But you can use it for maybe books and maybe your summer program, and you save money that way. That was my thought, because the goal is we wanna save money, right? So that we have money to hire a position. So instead of, like, I think we had a $48 book bill or something last month. I I don't know the exact amount.
Purchase
But that's something you could have gotten a grant for, and so you would have saved your $48 in your budget. If you see what, I mean, this
I
is my logic.
understand. Making room in the budget
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Are
But
there
yeah.
any other questions?
Along Patty's lines, have you tried reaching out to the community? Like older retired people would come volunteer for you maybe?
We have a pool of volunteers that contribute hundreds of hours
Oh,
each
good,
year.
okay,
So we have a pool,
awesome.
each volunteer is individual depending on what they, can and want or are able to do. Some of them are really interested in developing skills, and so we try to provide those opportunities to those volunteers. So if you have any suggestions on likely volunteers who would also like to help, we're always open to that. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 council meetings ago where I suggested, you weren't on yet, but I had mentioned what a volunteer opportunity the library is, how we can't always use the help. So we're genuinely trying to come at this from every angle possible. And whatever budget we have, we strive to be extremely respectful of, to the best of our ability. So we will do our best as a department to meet the availability and the needs of the city as a whole. We are 3/4 deep in the fiscal year, so it might not shake out perfectly, but we're gonna do our best to be as close to that line as we can. So, thank you.
Number 13, we have down, discuss approve, disapprove advertising for a part-time library aide position. Would you like us to just disapprove that at this time, just so that we can revisit it again, just to close it out for today?
I think that sounds appropriate.
No,
Okay.
take action, no action.
Okay, no action. And we're to number 14, public comment. There'd be an option to have a 3-minute time limit per individual. Is anyone interested?
I do have one question.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, want me to, it'll take 3 seconds, okay? I'll go to the pulpit and I'll be there. Please have it. Carrie Carter. The meetings haven't been on video the last couple meetings. I was wondering, are we gonna get them on video so we can watch them at home if we don't come to council? Cause they haven't been on twice now. I don't know how that works.
Those were joint and special offsite, like those are just library courtesy recordings, essentially.
So as long as the meeting's held at the library, it can be recorded, but we don't have recording capabilities at any of our other locations.
Okay.
So like a
Wasn't
couple of
the
the-
last one should be on there.
A couple of the,
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks should be on? I'm just asking, is it
The
gonna
last
continue or not?
video, for the May 13th meeting was posted to YouTube within a couple days after the meeting, it just wasn't linked. For a
maybe to
time,
the city.
I was out of the office.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm not, I mean, I just wanna know if we're gonna have it
So as long as
consistently or not.
the
That's
meeting's
just the question.
at the library, it should be recorded.
That was longer than 3 seconds.
Sounds good. Okay, without any other requests, we'll go ahead and we'll move to 15, approve bills, claims, requisitions, orders, and transfers. Have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Dean,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Gaston, and Devon.
Yes.
All right, motion to adjourn?
My motion to adjourn.
Patty?
I'll second.
Thank you.
That was easy. That's easy.
Page,
Easy,
Devon,
easy.
and Dean.
I'd like to have a public comment,
Okay.
okay? To start with, of course, it's on a golf course. And you all know that I'm totally against theft on the golf course. And I think it's a requirement for you, city council people, to know the profit of beer and alcohol sales. You go on internet, look at it. It's 5 times cost equals gross. 4 times that equals net. 4 times cost equals net. That's what the citizens should be making at the golf course on alcohol sales. Okay? Now, to vote on anything, you have to have 3 people on city council to make it pass. Okay? All right. Over the years, the 44 years at the golf course, Crawford the citizens have never made a dime off the golf course. No money whatsoever. They always go in the hole. Okay? Okay? You know who runs the golf course? The golf board. Okay? Who runs the city hall? Who votes for anything? 3 people, 3 council persons makes the decision, and it's a legal decision. It overrides state highway patrol, the treasurer department in Nebraska, everyone. Those 3 people control all your money, whether it's a loss or an income. Okay, now then, I'll say this, in 2024, the city lost $68,600 in alcohol sales at the golf course. That's a lot of money, $68,000. But it was approved by 3 up here on the board, whoever you voted for that. You have to look at profit and loss statement at the golf course, because the thief is right there. Look at the figures. Okay? In 2003, 23, it was almost 18,000 above. The theft was $18,000 above 24. Who created it? Who guaranteed it? Who approved it? City council, 3 of them.
That's time for more things.
Look at internet and see what beer sells for and alcohol, okay? Everybody should know.